Hello and welcome to the Solve Network. I'm Shane Borza, host of the podcast. Along with my co-founder Benjamin Goss, we'd like to welcome you. Our mission is to provide solutions and create a network of experts for you to learn from. We hope this episode and expert helps you to learn, grow, and move forward. And now, on with the show.
Scene one, Apple, take one.
Hi, I'm Shane Borza, your content creator coach. I have 2 books on filmmaking, Film Notes, where you learn to write, direct, and produce, and the Film Notes Workbook, where you can learn checklists and paperwork to streamline creating your content. Available at shaneborza.com. I also have filmmaker resources like the Paperwork Bundle with over 300 documents, the Sound Effects Bundle with almost 3,000 files, and the Music Bundle featuring 900 tracks of all genres. Want to build your professional credits? Become an associate producer and get listed on IMDb. Let me help you get your art out into the world.
Scene one, Apple, take one.
Before I launch in with any questions or anything that I would want to talk about, because we have some people here, I want to open it up and see if any of them wants to jump in and ask you either something that you talked about to go into more depth, or if there's something that maybe they want to know that you haven't touched on yet.
Absolutely. Make me better.
I got one for you, Clifford. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate you. I know that you're a UFC fighter for a little while. I'm just kind of curious what made you transition into your entrepreneurial spirit that you're doing now.
Yeah. So once I had my kid, I wanted to work smarter, not harder. And I started slacking in my conditioning. Like, that's where it started. And then when I was in my last fight, I remember wanting to protect myself instead of fighting for the sake of fighting. I wanted to be able to hold my kid. And that's when I knew, like, oh yeah, this journey's done. Because once you start using, like, I want to work smarter, not harder, you're BSing yourself. You're BSing yourself. You need both, because you need to learn the lessons that you need to learn. And so you have to passionately go into it. And if I'm not passionately doing something, I'm going to walk away from it, because I'm BSing myself and I'm BSing the sport, and I don't want to disrespect myself or the sport. And so that's what I did.
That's a great story. I like that you just said you need both. And I have never heard anyone talk about how you need to both work smarter and harder, because usually people say, rather than work harder, work smarter instead. And you're so right, because the people who do exceptional things, they're still working hard.
Yeah.
They just added the smart in.
Yeah.
And that was
absolutely.
what made the difference. So that's a fantastic takeaway.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to jump in, or Thomas, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good for now. I was going to ask that same thing, but yeah, you beat me to the punch there. So, but smarter and harder, you have to have both to accomplish what you need to do. I mean, you can do it hard and be really frustrated with everything, with what you're trying to do, but then, hey, this ain't working, so what do I need to do? That's when the smartness comes in.
Absolutely.
To help compensate for what the hard is missing, so you can get through that path and jump over those hurdles so you can accomplish what you need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your wife think about this? About
entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
She gets nervous. Yeah, she gets nervous. It's 90% of the time, because I think this is what people often miss too, is our brains, they delegate, they distort, and they delete. It just does those 3 things. Like, it's just so we become what we focus on, and we become what we tolerate. And knowing that and realizing that, it's super important, because you say, I can focus on that 10% when my wife is just not on board with what I'm doing. Because there is 10% where she's not on board. It's not easy. It's a process. Or I can focus in on the 90% when she is on my side. And so I actually focus in on both. I do my best to. This is why. That 90%, I need to know she's got my back. But that 10%, I always want to make that a little bit better too. I think being a true leader is about showing up on both sides, not pretending that your kids are angels because they did something right 80% of the time. And, oh, well, they only effed up 20% of the time. Like, well, why not make it 19 and then go to 18 and then to 17 and do it in a loving, caring way, but do it in a way that you know they can do better and show up better.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Yeah.
That reminds me, when I was in high school, I worked in a restaurant, and the owner always used to say, we don't need to be perfect, but we need to always be getting closer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll never be perfect. But like you said, we can take that 20% and go down to 19.
Yeah.
And then, to go back to the other lesson, celebrate that we did that, and then get back to work and get the 19 down to 18, and just keep doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe you never get down to 0, but you're improving. You're in the process or the practice.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to ask you about your process and how you came up with those 6 main principles that you have.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny. So I hired a motivational speaking coach, and she told me to go speak to friends and family. And then I told her, is this supposed to be the hardest one that I ever do? Because I'm nervous even thinking about this. And she goes, yes, it is. So I got to work, right? And I went to go sweat in front of my friends and family and just go all over the damn place. Like, it was everywhere. Just like, and if you believe, you achieve. And believe as much as you can believe at the highest possible level. And when you're down, get back up. It's just like, there was no rhyme or reason to what I was talking about. It was just a bunch of feel-good, like, inspirational stuff. And one of my clients came up to me and she goes, Cliff, like, I felt good, but I didn't know what to do with it. I felt really good, but I just didn't know what to do with it. And so I thanked her for that. And for like a week, I sat down and I reversed engineered everything that I had ever done. Because I knew how to get people to where they're going. I just didn't know how to explain it quickly and instantly. Because in entrepreneurship, it's in the subtle moments. People need to know what you're doing and how you're doing it in seconds. Because if you can't, they're out. They've already left the building. And so that's where I came up with the power of six. And again, just as I talked about, I'm funneling even deeper. Because if I can give the specific on, I'm going to get you your competitive edge so you sell 8 to 12 more houses a year. People understand that. They get that. It's tangible. Okay, I know what I'm getting for the service. So now I can use, all right, you'll make $3,000 per sell on average. And again, each state is different, but I'm just throwing out this number just to throw it out. And if you were to get 8 houses, that would be $2,400 or $24,000. And so for $24,000, I'll put you in this package, and not only will you make your money back, you'll have money in excess after you're done with your process. And so that's how the power of 6 came to life, was sitting down, being a little bit embarrassed, learning or reverse engineering what I needed to do, and going through the process. And what's so interesting is, I'm glad you asked the question, because you don't know what you going through your stages will do to other people. You can't until you're there. This same client went through a completely different frustration about a year ago. She called me super, super upset because she had done terrible in a specific athletic endeavor. And I told her, like, you tried as hard as you could, right? She said, yes. He said, and your team knows you tried as hard as you could. Yes. And sometimes we just beat the crap out of ourselves because we don't have anything better to do. And I go, look, do you remember when you talked to me about my motivational speaking? I didn't go home and cry. The ego got punched a little bit, but I was like, now I can do something. I needed to learn that lesson so that I could move forward faster, better. And so now you have an opportunity, because that's all stepping in the fucking stage can do for you. That is the one piece everyone misses all the damn time. And I know Misty plays in the multi-level marketing and the network marketing, and it drives me crazy because people won't get on their stage. They're too busy listening to everyone else on their stage, saying, like, repeating the same shit that they're saying and not creating a stage for themselves. They're telling you what to do. They're literally telling you what to do. And what to do is scary. And so instead of being scared, because that's all it is, all fear does is get you to where you need to go. Instead of being scared and going through the fear, they're going to sit there and listen to the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. My power of 6 is just a process. Sorry, I get a little bit fired up about these kind of things, I know. But it's a process. It's nothing more than a process. It doesn't do it for you. You still have to put in the work. You still have to put in the experience. You can buy every one of my products, and by itself, it will do absolutely nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. It's the same thing as a lawnmower. Yes, I can buy a lawnmower. But if I don't actually start the lawnmower, put gas in the lawnmower, and push the lawnmower, nothing will happen. And so when people talk about, like, oh, the personal development world is broken, like, no, look at yourself. Don't point at the personal development world and say, oh, well, if it did this and if it did that and if it showed me this, and I need to be shown the exact way, in the exact formation, in the exact possible process. No, you don't. Take your action. They're telling you to take your action. Yeah, it's scary. I know. It's hard. I know. And even then, probably, I hope 5% takes action. I really do. I really, really do. Because I know the odds are like 1 to 2% normally take it. And I like getting into people's asses just so they think about it for a little bit and say, oh, crap, I haven't been taking the actions I'm supposed to be taking. Maybe I should start doing that. Because it feels good when people take the actions and say, like, hey, Cliff, I took this action and this happened. That's awesome, because we get to experience it together. But back to friendly Cliff. Hey, everyone. You got something, Misty?
I was going to say, she looks like she's going to jump in. Go for it.
Yeah. Being someone who has went through the process with Clifford, we've known each other for about 2 years now. And what I want to say about the process first is that people don't need to think that everybody's process is going to take the same amount of time. You need to take your time and you need to dig deep and you need to do it right. Because like you said, no matter how many tools you have, if you're not doing it correctly, it's not going to help you. And I had a lot of stuff from my past, and it really helped me understand that my story, I was allowed to rip pages out. I didn't have to be my story that was created for me, that I was a whole different person than what somebody had wrote about. And I had to just like really dig deep and quit skimming over the surface and, you know, bring a lot of stuff out and get rid of it. And then I became me. I got to be me. I got to write my own story. And there is absolute greatness in all of us. And if he hadn't have kicked my butt through the whole process and forced me, did force me, Clifford, many occasions to say very uncomfortable things, I wouldn't be who I am now. And I'm definitely rocking it now. And I mean, I am a whole different person from who he met. And I know he knows that. I know that.
Yeah.
And I just love it. I love everything about it. And it's not something I'm going to do once. This is going to be a constant do-over, because once you fix one thing, there's all these other things. You're different. You've got to keep going. You've got to keep digging deep and deeper and take all those little layers off. And then, yeah, it's a dance.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you so much, Clifford. It's just been a life changer for me.
I appreciate you too. And by the way, so her motto, she's Mama Misty now. Mama Misty in the house. And we're going to get one for Tom and you too, Shane. Benjamin, I don't know you yet, but if you're with Shane, I'm sure you're an amazing human being, and I'd love to get to know you. But yeah, Shane and Tom, like, it's just a fun journey. Ultimately, the journey's super fun. I got to talk with Shane I think we talked for like 3 hours. Misty knows I'm good for that crap. But and that's what it comes down to is I want to be on my deathbed and just say like, wow, that was fucking fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, what a ride that was. Because we all have the ability to do it.
So, is it Clifford? Is that what I heard? This is Ben.
Hey, Ben. Yep. Clifford, whichever you like.
So I apologize. Where I'm at, for some reason, the internet has knocked out a half of the city, so my connection's a little bit unstable. So I think I caught about 60% of what you were saying. So if I ask you a question, you've already addressed it. Please accept my apologies in advance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, I heard your comments about, working smarter and harder. I know people's energy kind of ebbs and flows. So, obviously sometimes we need to work on our process in terms of optimizing when we can work harder and get the maximum gain for that versus working too hard at the wrong time and maybe not seeing the right amount of gain. So I don't know if that's anything that you could comment on both psychologically and physically. And then my second question, or my follow-up question to that is, sometimes it requires a coach to, I don't know, maybe you can talk about the difference between a coach versus a consultant versus a, how should I put this, colleague, networking, friend, whatever, right? In terms of how do I work smarter, right? Like in my mind, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, like a coach can help me move faster because they're going to be able to help me get around obstacles that maybe I didn't know were going to be there. Mm-hmm. A consultant is somebody that's supposed to be kind of like there and say, here, you tell me what you've got going on. I'm going to help you uncover your results or your solutions that you didn't know you could achieve. And then your networking friends or your friends or whatever, or maybe your family. Sometimes family is an obstacle, not a benefit, right? But sometimes that's just the cheerleader that you need in your corner to help you keep going. So I don't know that really helps you necessarily work smarter, but I don't know. Maybe you've already talked about some of that stuff. I apologize, but I know there's a couple of different moving parts. But what hits you in those questions?
Yeah, I love it. So first, for the trying to work hard and trying to work hard correctly, there's an exercise that I have people do, and it's called sprint, jog, walk, rest. Sprint, jog, walk, rest. So everyone on this call right now is not just doing one thing. Like, we're not just, I am an entrepreneur who helps real estate agents. I am an entrepreneur who helps real estate agents. I am a dad. I am a husband. I am a brother. I am a lot of different things. I am a friend, right? And if I just let all the plates drop and just I'm stuck there spinning just one plate. And as an entrepreneur, you are spinning a lot of different plates, and it's important to know which plates to spin at which speed. And so it's huge. It's a huge piece. The best friend we have is awareness. When we can look within ourselves and say, okay, where am I at today? What do I have? And what do I have to take action towards? Because a starving artist is still just a starving artist. That is frustrating. I don't care what anybody says. You'll be like, oh, I'm creative. I get to do what I want. Like, do you? Because you don't have the finances. And the same is true in reverse. If you have all the finances all day long and you have no relationships to show for it, your relationship is with money, then that's just as damaging. You know, and I look at human psychology, we need both. We need both to sustain. And so when we can say, all right, where do I need to sprint? Where do I need to rest? Where do I need to jog? And where do I need to walk? And that goes back to filling out that plan. What's your schedule like for the day? And when you look at what your schedule is like and you're like, crap, you know, I want this thing, but I'm doing too much of this. Like if I said, I want to fight in the UFC and I'm watching Netflix 8 hours a day, odds are it's not happening. Like no matter how passionate I am, it's not happening because I'm not spending enough time doing the things that I need to do. And so when I start going like, okay, in this area, I need to sprint to get to this thing. And in this area, I need to jog, walk, rest. The other piece with coaching, so coaching really uncovers answers, right? It's the way like I will ask a question saying like, if you were to say, I want this thing, right? Like, let's say you said, I want more money. Then I can ask you, well, what does more money look like to you? And then you'll get a little more specific. And like, okay, why do you want that specific amount? And then you'll get even more specific. And the layer goes deeper and deeper and deeper until you start uncovering the reality that was always there, but you just needed to have the right sounding board and the person to ask the right questions to really uncover that for you. A consultant is one who they have an expertise in something and they can give you the steps of that expertise in that thing, and you can just go to work on that thing. So for instance, if you were dealing with a new software and you had a consultant helping you with that software, they're going to tell you, okay, do step A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then you just follow through that process. Your colleagues, human beings are so deeply layered that I'm going to go back to what the brain does, where it deletes, distorts, and delegates. And so what gets people in trouble is when we do that, we will see only one side of a human being. What I mean by that is everyone that I come in contact with is very, very friendly to me. Very extremely friendly, like not even just kind of sort of friendly, like extremely friendly to me. They're friendly to me because I see the best side of them. And so when you see the best side in someone, they will show you their best side. Even the assholes, even the narcissists, not so much, but that's another story altogether. But they usually avoid me anyway, because they know that I can see through them. But when you can see the best in someone, you'll tend to respond in caring and with empathy. And with that response, they actually can't help but to respond back to you with caring and empathy. Like they don't respond like assholes. It's kind of hard to explain. It's more something you would have to experience. And then when asking like, okay, who do I go with? The coach, the consultant, that's individual. You know, like if you took a toddler, or not a toddler, if you took a young kid and you put them on a tricycle, that would be great for that young kid. But if you put them on a BMX bike, then they're screwed. Like, they're going to break their neck. Something crazy is going to happen. Like, they're in trouble. But the reverse is also true. If you took a person on a BMX bike, a professional, and you put them on a tricycle, they're going to look pretty damn stupid. And that's not to say like, oh, well, I guess they're not a pro anymore. They can't even ride a tricycle. Like, no, that's not what they're training to do. They're training to do something completely different. If you put me as a professional fighter in front of a guy who doesn't know how to fight, and you say like, oh, I guess Cliff isn't so professional anymore. He won it, but it looked kind of ugly and sloppy. Like, no, that's because that guy looked ugly and sloppy. Wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. And that's what we got to see on saying like, okay, do I go with a coach? Do I go with a consultant? Or do I do with a mix of both? Like I like practicing a mix of both. I don't like just coaching people and I don't like just consulting people. I like having that mixture. And that's why I like calling myself a competitive edge specialist, because to get your competitive edge, sometimes you need the coach to ask you the right question. And sometimes you need the consultant to tell you, look, A, B, and C, let's get to work. I hope that answered it for you.
Follow up to that would be, so, you know, some people are more outcomes oriented and some people are more, let's call them being oriented, right? Like a state of being. So when you're trying to accomplish things, you know, I think sometimes people mix up their goal setting. Like, you know, some people say, I want to be rich. Like they see that as being rich. Well, some people could be rich at $1,000 a month, but you know, other people can't feel rich unless they're making 100,000 a month, right? So that's a state of being or mindset versus say outcome, like I want to sell 10 more houses than I sold last year, right? To me, that's a very measurable outcome. So when you're working with somebody, do you think that it's important for people to have a mix of those things, or should they tend one way versus the other? Like early stage career should be more outcomes, late stage career should be more being, or like any opinions on that kind of stuff?
Yeah. What's up, Grace? First and foremost, what I would say is it's customizable. Each individual is different. You know, I look at Misty on the call and Tom on the call, and I've worked with both of them. They're both very similar in some ways, and they're both very different in other ways. And so I'm not going to handle each person is completely different. What I will say, all I want to do is help people get to their creative genius. And so their creative genius is taking in the information, absorbing the information, and then going out to implement it. The truth is, I don't like calling it failure because you're learning, but it's about trying a bunch of different ways to find the way that works for you. And when we do that enough and we do that with a safe space, a space of okayness, we get to where we need to go faster. Like, I don't think there is this cut and dry, okay, if I'm outcome oriented, because I'm outcome oriented at this age, and I'm goal oriented or I'm belief oriented at this age, in this stage. Everyone's in different places and different stages and also aware of very different things. You know, I want to know what are they being aware to, and use that as energy. Like, I'll give you an example. There is a generalization that does go on here. If you take a teenager, most likely the vanity metrics are most likely going to be higher. Like, it's going to be like, I want to look good. Rarely, and it's not to say that it won't happen, it can, but rarely are they going to say, yeah, I just want to be healthy, because they're not thinking about being healthy. They already think that they're healthy. They just want to look good. Versus someone who's in later stages of life, they'll be more inclined to look for that health, especially if they have kids, they'll be more inclined to do that. So there is a general umbrella, but I still take everyone as a case-by-case basis. And even though a teenager may likely be more of a certain way, I'm going to sit down, have a discussion, and really figure out what they want and what they need, and then I'll customize the plan accordingly.
I just want to welcome Grace to the call. I know you got here late, but if you want to say hi or jump in or ask anything or suggest anything to talk about, please do.
Thanks, Shane. Hey, Clifford.
Hey, Grace, how you doing?
Good, good. Glad to be on this call with you.
Yeah, glad to have you. And Ben, did that answer the question, or did that make it more confusing?
No, I think that shares your perspective nicely. I think it's interesting how you.
Oh no, he cut out.
Yeah, we lost you, Ben. I don't know if you can still hear us.
I can hear you fine.
Oh, you're coming back. You said it was interesting how, and then you cut out the drama.
I'll try messaging him in the chat. I don't know if he copied.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, you could do it that way.
So I wanted to also cast a little wider light. You mentioned one of the things you were saying earlier. If someone wanted one of your products. So other than you talking about the main principles here, your power of 6, do you have other things that you're doing or other kind of systems that you use?
Yeah, so I have my book out, which is Awaken the Superhero Within. And I got another book coming out, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to say. So I'm a part of a surprise. I'll say that. I'm a part of a surprise. Stay tuned. Oh, were you speaking, Ben? Was he going to type it in the chat?
Oh, if I did, I wasn't on purpose.
Oh, we're talking to somebody. Okay, so and then the other piece is there were 2 forms that I was using, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. But I started really diving into neuro-linguistic programming, and I was doing neuro-linguistic programming with the clients that I was working with as a personal trainer, and I did it outside of personal training, and it was the reframe and the timeline therapy. Now, I will say I am a lot of experiences put together. Like Clifford Starks there's the 39 years that I've been on this earth, and then there's all of the other listenings that I take in on what to do and what not to do. And so I know there's a lot of experience in ways that I didn't know that I was accumulating at the time. And what I like about entrepreneurship, it really fleshes it out in a way where you can explain what you're doing for people. And that's, I go back to the motivational speaking, like it's really explaining, okay, what are you doing? How are you doing it? When am I going to get it? And you can get into the nitty gritty details of what it is that you do. But yeah, so my power of 6 is one, and I love neuro-linguistic programming. I think it's very powerful stuff. I mean, I've had women lose over 100 pounds because they see themselves as being different individuals. And when you see yourself as different, you just act differently.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I would love to learn more about that. But I want to ask about your book. Can you talk about not only what the book is about, if it's about, I don't know if it's like a biography or if it's about a certain teaching protocol or what have you, but also what inspired you to write the book?
Yeah, so the coach that I was working with actually inspired me to write the book. And he's crazy because I'm crazy. I mean, normal people don't step inside cages to get punched in the face. I'm just going to tell it how it is. So a crazy person needs a crazy coach. It's like, you know, those amazing cowboys and cowgirls, they need that crazy horse that's just like, oh, I got to tame this one. That's me with coaching. I only go with the sprinters. And this guy sprints. So he's like, I'm going to show you how to write a book in 30 days. And my heart dropped out of my chest. And I said, all right, let's see what happens. And he was not kidding. And he is very intense. He's like, do this at this time on this day, this way. And you just do it. Like, or not, and then don't get the result you were looking for. So I don't like or not. So I ended up doing it and putting it together. And what I really wanted to do was create a process to give the people that I was working with a quick win. You know, I want to give them a quick win to start off their journey the right way. I actually changed the title from transformational coach to competitive edge specialist, because a lot of people weren't understanding what transformational coach meant. Like, they're like, what is it? Where getting your competitive edge, they know what that means. And so a transformational experience is something that we all on this call have had, you know, and we're actually the easiest to connect with on this. You know, Grace actually introduced me to you, and everyone Grace has introduced me to has been a freaking rock star, because Grace has that energy to her. You know, like, Grace knows she has that certain energy. And it took me some time. Like, I'm not going to lie, it took me some time, because there's a piece of me that wants to help everybody. And Misty really came into my radar at the right time, because that's when I just started cutting people off. Like, I'm like, oh, not talking to that person, I love you. Oh, yeah, nope, not happening. And it's been so less grindy. I know there's another Clifford Starks out there who's kind, loving, and bringing everybody in, and they'll learn their lesson when it's time for them to learn their lesson. So I'm like, I'm not the only Clifford Starks. There's somebody else out there who's going to take on those people. But yeah, I've just gone into, I want certain people on my bus. I want certain people in my game, in my world. And there's certain people I just don't want in it, or as far away from it as possible. Because I don't think you can take people out, but I do think you can structure things in the way that you would like it to be structured in. And so that's what I did. And that's what the book's about. It's about people who want to walk a step closer. Like, that's kind of interesting. Let me check this out. I think he has something that can help me. That's what the book's really for. What's up, Rick?
I see that Thomas put it in the chat, so I'll make sure to share that with everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was super cool, because as I go through my journey, Rick, you're going to love that woman. Not kidding at all. Like, not even a little bit. So I met this woman, Donna. Oh, Grace, probably got to introduce her to you too, because you're going to love her too. Yeah, it's just been a fun journey. It's been a fun journey. I think I'll introduce you to her. I'm going to introduce her to all of you. Yeah, I'm going to introduce her to all of you. She's a go-getter, bright light, who's super, super friendly, super, super fun, reinvented herself. Misty Blue in the house, the reinvention, nonstop superstar, Misty. You might want to do like a little streak of dyed hair. Just saying. Because Mama Misty, I'm just throwing it out there. I think it would look kind of cool. And I would rep it and share it everywhere.
No fear.
No fear. No fear. Because here's the other thing, Shane, and you didn't even ask me this, but it just popped into my head. When I saw myself in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw, when I saw that overweight kid, I was effing done. Like, not kind of done or sort of done, effing done. I wanted something different. And so so I went to go experience something different. I'm noticing a running pattern with people. They're changing something about themselves, because inside they're different. They know it and they feel it. But when it's something about the eyes, when you can see it, something changes, something switches. Grace would probably be able to explain this very, very well because I know she's a scientist at this stuff, but there's something there. I remember when I write things pen to paper and I can see it, it makes it realer. And when it's realer, your body can't help but to do and act the way it's supposed to do and act.
Visual learning.
Yeah.
Something I want to say about earlier, what Ben was saying, is that as far as outcomes and goals, the thing that I found out, and you know this to be true, is that once you go through the process of the power of 6, you realize that what you thought was your goal is nowhere even close to what your goal really was.
Yeah. It's built to go into the deeper layers. And I actually kind of wait to go to some of those deeper layers. Like that fire up person that I was, fired up. When I get fired up like that, it's really me giving you the kick in the pants inspiration to go educate yourself. Like no one's going to educate you for you. You have to educate you. And even as a personal trainer, when I was a personal trainer, people thought it was the hour they were meeting me in the gym. They thought like, oh, well, I went to the gym and I got my workout in and now I can go back to my day like I normally was. Like, no, you need to change as a person. You need to change your habits. You need to change your desires. You need to change your obsessions because everyone's obsessed to something. Rick says it best, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Everyone is obsessed with something. And when you can get really straight with yourself and say, I'm obsessed with Netflix, I'm obsessed with making people happy, I'm obsessed with the joy of the world, I'm obsessed with experiencing as much fulfillment as possible. Once you can understand that, then you just start taking action towards experiencing what you want to experience.
There's one last question in the chat. I want to make sure we get this answered for them.
Yeah.
Can you comment on mindset and its impact on outcomes? I know you talked about a lot of different things kind of around that, but
yeah,
how can you link outcomes and mindset?
So mindset is 95% of it. The problem is people take mindset, and this is just my feelings behind it. They take mindset and they believe it's just this thing that you think about, where your mind is literally changing from the implementation of what you're doing. So you cannot have the mindset of something without the action of that mindset. Like if you're not taking the action, then you don't have the mindset of it. People think like, oh, well, I can, like anyone can think anything. Like if I think like, oh, I think I can get bit by cobras and I'm going to be okay. Like I can think that all day long. That's cool. All right. Now go get bit by cobras and be okay. Oh, well, no. Well, then that's not mindset.
That's the best analogy for mindset I've ever heard. So thank you for that. You know, sometimes you need to have kind of that like outrageous example so people go, oh, right, yeah. It's so obvious when you put it like that. I don't want to go dive into a pool of cobras.
Yeah.
Crawl my way out, you know? So I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to ask anything or jump in with any thoughts because we're going to wrap up here in the next 10 minutes or so. And I know we had both Grace and Rick kind of jump in later in the call, but if you have anything you want to share or comment on or ask, or anyone else, I just want to make sure we have a last kind of open mic grab here.
Hey, Clifford, Tracy, want to ask you to basically go deeper into your process for repatterning. You know, that's important for people to understand how you do that. Obviously, a little later, but if you can just briefly go over your process, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. So when it comes to a repattern, the most important piece is to know what their thoughts are and know why they think what they think and know the conditionings they've had off of what they're thinking, because it gives it major sticking points, because that's the reality that they've shown up in for so long. And so when they've thought through life that way, I look at it like a car going in reverse at a certain speed. So if a car is going in reverse at 60 miles per hour, I'm not going to say, all right, let's hit the brakes and start going the other way. I was going to say, okay, so do you want to start slowing down a little bit more? Because we're going really fast backwards. And then we start slowing down a little bit and I say, okay, that's awesome. Do you want to go a little bit slower? You've already gone a little slower already. So what's a little bit slower? And eventually they go slower and slower and slower and slower until they stop. And now that they've stopped, it's like, awesome. Do you want to try and go forward? And that's actually the scariest part. When I get people going from reverse to forward, it's scary for them because they've gotten so used to going backwards. But when they put their foot on the accelerator, they will get lead foot. They will. Like, I mean, once they feel what it feels like, it's over. It's a wrap. And it's time to go forward, and it's time to go forward fast. Did that explain it?
Yeah, that's super cool. You know, just like you were talking about, and this is beyond the NLP stuff, right? This is actually getting their brains to actually wrap around a new perspective.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love it.
It was so crazy too, because I didn't even realize what my skill set was, but I see all the colors. So I see black, white, and gray. And at first it actually screwed me up, because when people would see black and white, I would show them gray. And when people would see gray, I would show them black and white. And it was like hitting a wall with people because I was conflicting with their beliefs. And so I actually had to learn to practice and hone my skill set. And I read up on persuasion. And I've read, there's a book called The 48 Laws of Power. And there's also another book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And there's such reverse ways of thinking, but they're both so important. They were so important on my development, because in my development, the one cool thing that I got going for me is a person usually knows when they're getting manipulated. If like they won't know it until after the manipulation. Like they'll step away from it and be like, wait a minute, I didn't feel right. That didn't feel good. And so I thought it was really important that whoever came close to me, I want them to feel good when they're with me, and I want them to feel good when they're away from me. And so that's why, to hold true integrity, it is not as easy as people think that it is. Because integrity, when people are holding integrity from their world and their lens, then you can do no wrong. Like, because I did the best that I could. Like, okay, well, that's easy to say. True integrity is saying, I'm going to go so deep with you as an individual. I'm going to know your wants, your desires, your goals, your being, and what you want to change and why you want to change it. And I'm going to sit and deep sit with you. You know, like when me and Tom spoke the first time, I took my time. I am not looking to get a cash grab on people. I am looking to go very deep with them and see if I can be an answer or solution to them on their journey and their path. And it feels great, you know, when I hear the stories of like, yeah, you know, you're the real deal. It lights my heart up.
Thank you, Clifford.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you want to jump in, or were you just?
I'd love to, man. I mean, Aloha, beautiful beings of light. Clifford, please forgive my late arrival, but man,
It's all good, Captain Rick. You're here now.
my man. I mean, come on, let's go. Let's do this. Grace Chang, I am so excited to meet you. Shane, Thomas, Misty Blue. Ben, we've never met, but I'm really looking forward to knowing you. I am in incredible company. I am in. Oh, I just felt that. I just felt that somebody just put a bomb in there. And Clifford, you are the real deal.
Thank you, my brother.
You are the real deal. And I've been paying attention. I've been putting in the reps, coach. I've been watching. And, you know, you've been said the windows are the eyes to the soul. And when we met face to face, you know, eye to eye, brother to brother, God to God, man to man, you know, every aspect. And you looked me in the eye and you said, man, when did you wake up? Like, when were you there? When did you get here? I was like, bro, we've always been.
Yeah.
We've always been, right? And it's just, so you get to that place where it's like, yeah, I see you. I see you. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to be. No, I see you. I see who for you. And so you want to talk about a man that goes the depth to the soul, to the honeycomb of the heart, to the place where it makes all the difference in the world, that will peel back, man. Don't be afraid of that, because look, what I love about Clifford Starks is he knows we're all that. We're all that dark side and we're all that light side. And it's like, what are you going to embrace? What are you going to feed? What are you going to love? Who are you going to be? And you know what? He'll give you a choice, and he's not going to judge you if you want to go the other way. But hey, is it Pono? You know, look, when you're coming from the deepest place in your heart, you can't get this wrong. And Clifford Starks will get you there. Clifford Starks will get you there. He'll go the distance, man. He's doing it for himself. He can do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can do it for himself, he can do it for you. And that's what separates this class of, and I hate to be, you know, separative, because that's not it, because we're really all inclusive. It's just getting really clear with what you want to experience. And Clifford Starks will help you get that. He'll help you get that clarity. That power of 6 is the real deal. He's the real deal. I'm honored. I'm thankful and grateful to be a friend and a student. You know, I'm a student. Everyone in here, you're teachers, you're creators, and so yeah, Clifford Starks, you got my boo. Let's go, man. Go touch 1 billion people, man. You don't do this by yourself. We all help, and I point to you all day long, brother. I point.
Amen.
All right.
Heck yeah, what Rick said.
Amen. I appreciate.
You know, almost made me cry, Rick. I hope you're happy I'm old, you know.
I'll tell you, I just want to throw out, there was a book called A Whack on the Side of the Head that I read, and it was just a very fascinating way to stretch your brain in ways that you haven't stretched it before. And I remember they talk about a teacher who's teaching this classroom, and one of the students drew the sky golden with a golden crown. And the teacher said, that's not the right color of the sky. She said, the sky's supposed to be blue. And she marked her points for making the sky golden instead of blue. And she went to her dad and she cried to her dad and said, Daddy, the teacher marked me points down because she said I didn't paint the sky the right color. And the dad goes, well, why did you see it as golden, baby? And she goes, because that's the color of the sky when the sun is hitting it. And so too often we look at a situation and say one's right and one's wrong, versus looking at the situation and saying, okay, this is the lens that this person is seeing it in, or even asking the question and being curious at the lens that they're seeing it in. I'll be the first to say, I learn as much from the people that I work with as they learn from me. You know, Misty's on my corner because just like my biological dad left, she came into my life. You know, my biological dad left when I was 4 years old. No rhyme or reason, just left. And the best lesson that I got from that was people can be your blood. People can be related to you. People can be whatever they want to be. But the choices that they get to make are still their choices. Misty chose to come and see me. My biological dad chose to leave. And we have choices to make every single day. And there is no right or wrong choice. There's just a choice and the consequence of the choice. And so we get to see how we show up and when we're going to show up. And so, yeah, I just keep putting the reps in until I can't put them in anymore. And if I stop putting them in, I want people to call me out for not putting them in.
That's a great message, and you have a great heart. And I'm really glad that you were here to share both of those things with us. And I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we'll wrap up here in a minute, but I want to make sure you have a chance to point people to you. So if you're going to say where people could go to learn more about you, or how they could get in contact with you or follow you or share with you, where would you direct them to go to?
Yeah, so I have my Awaken the Greatness Within, my Facebook page. You can also find me on Facebook, just with Clifford Starks. And I have my LinkedIn, so I'm starting to use that. Misty, thank you for your likes. Shane, thank you for your likes. And Rick, thank you for your likes. Ben, I look to get to know you better. And then the other piece is I have my Cliff at mindbodymentoring.com.
So thank you all for joining us on another episode of the Solid Network. So thank you so much for being here on the call, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, my name is James. I'm a lawyer who's always been interested in optimal human performance, and that's how I found Shane. If you're looking to upgrade your mental and physical fitness, then the Ultimate Performance course is for you. It's the key to performing better at work, at home, and in all of life's challenges. I've also found it to be a great community of like-minded and supportive professionals. As Shane says, together, everyone accomplishes more.
Want to have your ultimate performance or find out more about how to optimize your mind and body fitness? Contact me at shaneborza.com and see if the DIY or the group program would be best for you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Solid Network. These interviews are from our web series of the same name. Want to watch? Head over to YouTube and search for The Solid Network. If you have questions, you can reach out to me at shaneborza.com. On behalf of my co-founder, Benjamin Goss, we're glad you are a part of the network and hope you are finding solutions. If you need solutions, please reach out.